Very good morning. Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Anas. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Participants, kindly switch on your videos. Thank you.
Shall I speak? Mr. Anas? Yeah.
Very good morning. Respected organizers, dear students, good morning to all. I am Anas Almalla, a research scholar. I welcome you all to the fourth day of the fifth conference in digital culture and politics, organized by the Department of Visual Communication at SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Our chief guest for today is a renowned lecturer in the media field. She is Dr. Beulah Rajarathnamani from the University of Madras. Welcome to us, ma'am. Dr. Beulah is presently Associate Professor and Head in Charge of the Department of Journalism and Communication at University of Madras, Chennai, India. She completed her master's and PhD in Journalism and Communication from the University of Madras. She has been teaching at the university for the past 16 years. Dr. Beulah has publications in prestigious national and international journals. She has also contributed numerous research articles in books. She has completed research projects funded by University Grants Commission, India. She has organized seminars and conferences and has delivered lectures in reputed institutions and conferences. She is also associated with a number of national institutes of higher learning. We're happy to welcome you, ma'am. As a start, let me first introduce the titles of the papers and the presenters by their serial numbers. So the first paper is, the title is A Study on the Treatment Given to Transgender Character in Bollywood Movies, with a special reference to Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui by Satish, Kumar, Patel. The second paper will be titled Social Acceptance of Sexual Minority, Transgender People Among Cis-Adults in the Digital Society by Kirthana SP. The third paper will be The Scripting of Rape, Gender Politics and Silences of Rape in India Media Reportage by Benek Krishna. The fourth paper is An Analysis of Gender Representation in Tamil Films released on OTT in 2021 by Ms. Bria Avadani. The fifth paper, Are Females Characters the True Symbol of Post-Feminism or an Illusion of it? A study concerning films of Johi Chat Orvid by Shantaraju S. Paper number 6, examining the defamation and hostility towards the Hindi film industry, its existence as a soft power as well as a soft target by Adet Barriar. Number 7, a study on web series watches by youth during COVID-19 lockdown in Bangalore city by Rakesha V. Talikoti. Number 8, the conversation of political debates, forms and functions of Tamil news channels by Suganya Gunasikaran. So, shall we proceed with the first presenter?
Could I just say a few words?
Thank you, ma'am.
Could I say a few words? Yes. Good morning. I congratulate the organizers of the 5th International Conference on Digital Culture and Politics, Beyond Identity and Power. I congratulate Dr. Rajesh and his team of faculties from the Department of Visual Communication, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, College of Science and Humanities. This session focuses on media and gender, just as the previous 3 sessions that have concluded with interesting papers. This session too has topics that draw our interest on the theme media and gender. So can we go on to the first paper presenter? I think it is Satish Kumar Patel and Dr. Jayanta Kumar Panda, which is on a study on the treatment given to the transgender character in Bollywood movies. Yes.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Kindly, the participants are asked to switch on their videos now. All the participants, kindly switch on your videos. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Satish Kumar Patel. And is it possible for you to present my PPT? I request you to present my PPT.
Just 1 second, sir. Sir, actually, as of now, it's not possible to share the screen from our side. So is it possible for you to present later?
Please, please wait for 2 minutes. I'm sharing the screen. Please wait.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Here, yeah, let's share.
Is it possible to proceed with the second paper first? Because actually I'm facing problem in my laptop. Actually, it is getting updated, Windows update. So is it possible? Can I present in the second as a second person? Second person can proceed from here.
Yes, sir. You mean it is scheduled in the?
Can we start? Yes. I will present after the second presentation.
Yes. No issue, sir. So
Okay.
shall we proceed with the next presenter, please?
Yeah. Social acceptance of sexual minority transgender people among cis-adults in the digital world. Kirthana and Dr. M. Srihari. Yes. So can we have your presentation? Yes, the first presenter is having a problem with his presentation, the PPT presentation. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Ready.
I'll share it.
Yeah.
So
For your
I'll
kind
share
information,
screen.
For your kind information, the presentation should be within 7 minutes. Thank you very much.
Can you see my presentation?
It's not visible.
Just a minute. Yeah. Now can you see my presentation?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm SP Kirthana, a research scholar from Bharatiyar University, Tamilnadu. So my topic here is social acceptance of sexual minority, especially transgender people among cis-adults in the digital society. So who are transgenders? Transgender is an umbrella term used to represent gender variant people whose lifestyle usually conflict with the gender norms in the society. So how their representation will be? Representation of binary gender construction remains a norm in most society where a number of people who identify themselves as transgenders has increased in recent years. In this situation, one of the basic tenets of transgender people is right of choice and self-determination. Determination of their gender, especially to which they belong to and relate, is intrinsic to their right of self-determination and dignity. As Redman states, in the bifold gender society where homosexuality or transsexuality is still associated with prejudice and misunderstandings, in India, after the annulment of Section 377 of IPC, the consciousness related to transgenders about their emotional struggles, exclusion in the public sphere was held high. So, in breaching these norms, gender norms, digital environment provides a wide rostrum to access knowledge about the third gender people because of its access and easy availability. So, digitalization here plays an important role in representation, which has transformed and proliferated transgender people in the media that reflects a social attitude about their identity, evolving with public perception and misunderstanding. So, mass mediated exposure here operates as a catalyst in aiding knowledge to the individuals who lack direct contact with their culture. So here, new media technologies play a major role in the representation of transgender people has transformed and proliferated. So it is important how digital platforms expose transgender people that coincides with the way of tolerance and accepting them in the normalization phase, busting the myth of gender binary construction. As you all know, as many new schemes like shelter homes, health insurance, free bus pass, and recent announcement of enrollment in education by Madras University are coming up benefiting transgender people in India, their acceptance in society is still abstruse. They are seen as stigmatized people and are social deviants. So they also become a member of marginalized and vulnerable population targeted for discrimination, experiencing more psychosocial problems than other social groups. So as the report of Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment in 2014 states, stigma against transgender people refers to devaluing gender non-conforming people and developing negative attitude towards them. So it includes discrimination, violence, exclusion in public sphere, transphobia, that all lowers the level of tolerance towards transgender people. So discrimination states that it actually treats people unfairly because of their membership in the particular social group. So transgender people face prejudice and misunderstandings and discrimination in all fields like school, housing, healthcare, and even from their family, etc. So during the time of gender transition, they experience familial violence, which extends to neighborhood peers experiencing physical, verbal, and sexual abuse throughout their lifespan. So there is a need for social support for gender identity, which will result from positive attitude developed towards them. So it can be commensurated through Quillen's social support theory. So what this theory manifests? This theory says that social support as a social resource that is relied upon when dealing with life problems. So the support is primarily provided through social relationships, which assures the feeling of being supported, especially their gender identity support. So it can be instrumental, informational, or emotional in nature. So social support has been studied that it promotes many pro-social behaviors, protecting trans adults from mental health issues as well. In terms of social exclusion in public sphere, transgender people in public sphere are pushed towards the margins of society due to their gender nonconformity, resulting in violence, humiliation, torture, and exclusion. As vindicating this concept, Habermas inferred that the legal inclusion of transgender people does not translate into social acceptance due to heteronormative and exclusionary nature of public sphere. So, the public space is very central, as Amun states, in the formation of public and public culture. The heterosexual norms of public sphere cause discrimination against the third gender in the public space. Each group appearing in the public claims and uses the public space according to its socially prescribed roles. So this study discusses the attitude and social support the gender conforming people have, especially cis people, binary people, male and female, towards transgender people respective to their age and gender. So objective is to study the attitude of both male and female towards transgender people concerning social exclusion in public sphere, including violence, discrimination, transphobia, seeking a level of social support. It also explores the significance of age and gender pertaining to the attitude. So the research question is there any significant difference in attitude towards transgender people among men and women as well as among different age groups? So I have used quantitative method. I have used Google Forms and converted all this convenience sample into SPSS, and I have collected around 44 responses, among which 20 are male and 25 female respondents with different age groups. So I have obtained the results like among 44 respondents, only one male respondent showed consent to accept transgender people as husband and wife with closest social circle. So this shows that they have limited extent to accept transgender people in their personal circle. It also expresses binary people's hesitation to allow transgender people inclusive of their family and see them as others. It is understood that from the data that they show minimal hesitation in being a comfort to sit near them, even in bus and train or in theaters. So this can be vanished, providing a space to interact with transgender people in their daily lives. So the binary people also prefer gender-based toilets for transgender people in the public sphere. As Home Ministry had suggested that there should be adequate preservation of right of privacy and dignity of transgenders concerning separate toilets and shower facilities for trans men and trans women inmates, which when recommended in all public places may come for implementation. So the visibility of trans people should be higher in the workplace, aiding in mainstreaming the third gender and for increased tolerance towards them. So this is obtained from a data where many agree with the statement that inclusion can start at workplace. So there is also a fear for trans people, transphobia, and hence the need fulfillment for them is also getting affected due to transphobia. So it is very important to get rid of the fear, ensuring fulfillment of basic needs. So there is also a shift in the attitude of people from transphobia to problematizing it. So this attitude may reduce violence against transgender people and can witness more inclusion in the mainstream society. Even though it is expressed that most of the cis respondents had better knowledge about transgender people, their responses for the need to abolish gender transition made it contra. So it shows that they have very poor knowledge about gender transition, and their attitude might be like gender transition is unnatural. So it is elucidated that there is a rise in acceptance for gender transition, but they lack proper knowledge about the natural process of changing gender. And when we come across age group, the visibility of transgender people in day-to-day life between age group and 21 to 25, as well as in digital technologies, might have pulled them to accept the transgenders, especially in the public sphere. So 61% said that there is a need to abolish gender transition from age group 21 to 25, meaning that they need to be sensitized towards transgender people, boosting social acceptance. So in order to avoid familial rejection, knowledge must be provided to the people that then gender transition is natural, irrespective of their age group. As Shruti Sitara, Miss Trans Global 2021, claimed that there is a change of situation when we compare it with the past decade, and the change is not drastic towards acceptance of transgender people. So many people even now are not aware of the trans community and still feel it is a biological problem and needs to be corrected. So it can be cleared away by providing adequate knowledge about transgender people. So coming to a conclusion part, so this study results that there is a change in attitude towards transgender people and mainstreaming them in the inclusive society, but the respondents express hesitation in bringing transgender people closer to their family circle. So there is also a lack of knowledge about transgender people and gender transition, which can be inculcated through proper sensitization of binary people. As Baseman asserts, each group in public uses public space according to its socially prescribed rules. So there is a need to provide a 3-gender system in using public space and also gender-based toilets. This will aid in increased mobility of transgender people, supporting their right to equality. So another thing is problematizing transphobia that operates as an impetus in shaping the minds of public and tolerance towards transgender people. So meantime, there is a demand for fair representation of transgender people for increased social acceptance and support for their gender identity. In many societies, transgender people have mobilized in social movements like Pride March to organize manifestation to get their issues recognized on the public agenda, through which they denounce discrimination and violence against them, standing up for their rights. A positive attitude towards transgender people will increase their support for gender identity, which boosts tolerance and acceptance, especially in the digital society. Mainstreaming them will not only provide them with acceptance, but also fulfill their needs like education and employment, making them financially stable, bringing dignity, inviting them closer to the society that has ostracized transgender ones. As Nartagi Natraj, a transgender woman, Bharatanatyam dancer in 2019 states. So sensitizing adults from age 20 to 30, irrespective of the gender, can help to increase acceptance of transgender community in the civil society. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for the informative presentation.
Thank you, sir. So
Yes.
shall I stop?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Kirthana. So your
Yes, ma'am.
your presentation was good. And do we have questions from the participants on this paper? Do you want to clarify any aspect from the presenter, Kirthana?
Participants, if anyone has any question, kindly you can send in the chat box. Anyone has any question? So it seems there is no question, ma'am.
Yes, Kirthana,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to state a few things. Now, you have said that in your title, it talks about digital society. So, social acceptance of sexual minority among cis-adults in the digital society. So, any aspect of digital society that you looked into, like it is basically mainstream? Yes, you have told a lot of things which are very relevant. Now, you've said something about digital society. Can you just elaborate only on that?
So digital society here, just a minute, ma'am. Yeah, digital society provides a wide open rostrum like platform to talk about transgenders, and they'll come to know more about transgenders and their visibility through this digital access and availability, especially in social media. Like many youngsters are using digital environment, and digitalization plays an important role in representation of transgender people, which has transformed and proliferated them, so that more number of transgender people are coming up in this gender diverse society in recent years that we could witness easily. So transgender people in media, that also reflects their social attitude about their identity. So this evolves with public perception and understanding about transgender people. So here digital society plays a major role in visibility as well as acceptance.
So you want digital society to talk about this in
Yes,
a better way. That's exactly
Yes.
what you're suggesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
fair representation.
Yes, Kirthana. So yes, as your paper says, in relation to gender, most people are cisgender, meaning their gender identity matches the sex they are assigned at birth. However, some people are transgender, identifying as a different gender than the sex they are assigned at birth. So your paper definitely spoke about that. Good paper. Yes. Thank you for the presentation. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Can we move on to the next presenter?
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry for the delay. I sincerely apologize. I would like to present my research paper presentation, but I will like to give my presentation.
Yes. So the presenter is going to be presenting on a study on the treatment given to the transgender character in Bollywood movies. Mr. Satish Kumar Patel, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I share the screen?
Uh, I'm sharing it from my side. Is it visible?
Yes, it's working.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And title of my study is a study on the treatment given to the transgender character in Bollywood movie with special reference to the Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui. My name is Satish Kumar Patel. I am a PhD scholar in Jagran Lake City, Bhopal, and my co-author is Dr. Jayanta Kumar Panda. He is an associate professor in Jagran Lake City, University, Bhopal. Indian Constitution, when we talk about the transgender community in India, Indian Constitution has given equal rights to every citizen in India, but transgender community is still facing struggle in practicing their basic rights. I mean, Indian Constitution is definitely giving some kind of reservations and some kind of constitutional safeguard to support the transgender community, but transgender community is still facing discrimination, social stigma, physical and mental abuse. So transgender people are struggling in the society to become a part of mainstream society. It's not like that their presence is not being registered in the Indian society. Their presence has been registered in the Indian society. We can see that their documentation in the Asian book like Kama Sutra, Manusmriti, and drama manual like Natra Shastra, where they have been called with the term Tritya Prakriti. Even in the mythological writing, Mahabharata and Ramayana, they have been discussed. And when we talk about the Mughal period, transgender were at the very respective positions. They were the political advisors and they were involved in taking the higher decisions also. But after the arrival of British rule in India, there was a slight change in the treatment given to the transgender in the society. They passed the Criminal Tribal Act, according to which people who dress like a woman and dance in the street, or people who kidnap the children and do castration will be punished with some certain kind of punishment. So after the arrival of British rule, there was a change in the society, and then they were deprived from their basic civil rights. So when we talk about the contemporary time, Indian government are taking various initiatives to uplift the presence of transgender in the society and to make them the part of a mainstream society. They are providing the citizen ID cards, they are providing them the reservations, they are providing them the legal and the constitutional safeguards, so that transgender can become a part of the mainstream society. But still, transgender are facing struggle to become a part of mainstream society. There might be a chance that people are not very much aware about the problems and the struggles that the transgenders are facing in day-to-day life. Talking about the cinema, Indian cinema is the largest producer of films in India, and especially the Bollywood are very popular in India. Bollywood cinema is very popular cinema in India, and cinema is said as the mirror of the society, as it shows what is happening in the society, and it has the power to influence the people by the way they represent the topic and the way they represent certain kind of issues in the cinema. So cinema has the power to influence the mind of the people and also bring a positive change in the audience also. So cinema is a powerful tool, and various film director has attempted to make a movies on the various issues of the society. And even in talking about the transgender, Bollywood film definitely are putting a contribution in making the presence of transgender more visible in the society. And in Bollywood cinema, most of the representation of the transgender songs between the denial, most of the portrayal are stereotypical, where a transgender were engaged in the bagging or in the prostitution, or shown as a character who is involved in criminal activities. But there is slightly change in now. People are becoming more sensitive towards the transgender. Basically, though. There are two kind of films that are made in the Bollywood films. First is the art movies that seriously deal with the transgender issues, and second one is the mainstream movie, which are purely focus on the entertainment factor. Cinema holds a big responsibility while representing the transgender, because what is shown in the movie might get passed from one generation to another. So it's a responsibility of a filmmaker to make a film in such a way that not only focusing on the negative aspect, but also the struggles and the problems that transgender are facing in day-to-day life, and make people aware about these kind of issues. In my research, I have taken two theoretical framework. First is the cultivation theory, and the second one is the audio theory. According to the cultivation theory, if any piece of information or content is repeatedly exposed to the audience through a medium over a period of time, and then there might be a chance that audience will tends to believe in the content, what is shown in the films, or what is they are seeing through a medium. So if a director tells a story where stereotypical notion of a present representation of a transgender is being continuously shown, then people might have a stereotypical notion about the transgender. So it's a responsibility of a director or filmmaker to represent the right information and the true information about the transgender. So so that right information will be passed from one generation to another generation. Talking about the audio theory, the theory states that the director of a film is the major creative force behind the execution of any film, and it's the execution of his idea that the people are seeing on the screen. So if a director have a clear vision about the transgender character and have a clear vision about the representation, how he want to represent a film, or how he want to represent a certain kind of a community, so the right information will get passed from through the medium to the audience. And talking about the objective of my study, I have taken two objectives. First one is to study the treatment given to the transgender character in the movie, and the second objective is to study the characterization of transgender character in the movie. Research methodology, I have taken qualitative research approach, where I have done a content analysis of movie Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui, and I have taken it as a purposive sampling method. So I have taken a film where a transgender character is playing a crucial role and a main role in a film. So Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui deals. There were two main characters. First was Manav and second was Manvi. Manvi is a trans girl. So I have done the analysis based on the Manvi. Content analysis, I have created certain kind of parameter. Based on that parameter, I have done the analysis part. For the treatment part, I have taken certain kind of parameters, like transgender is treated as a normal person. So in a movie, in Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui movie, before Manvi reveals her identity, people really admire Manvi's look, even Manvi's personality. Even the main character Manav's family said Manav to get married with the Manvi. But after getting known about the identity of Manvi, they said we refused Manvi as our family member. There were in the initial phase, there was people were accepting the Manvis, but after revealing the identity, people were not accepting her identity. Transgender is given the freedom to dress as per the preference. Definitely, in this movie, Manvi chose the clothing according to her preferences. Transgender is given the opportunity to select their partner. In this film, she herself selected Manu as a partner. Transgender is accepted by the parents. In the initial phase, Manvi's father accepted the Manvi's identity, but mother does not accepted her identity. But at the end of the movie, Manvi's mother also accepted the Manvi's identity. So it was a positive treatment. Transgender is accepted by the friend. Yes, it was a positive treatment is given to the transgender character, because after even revealing or disclosing the identity, she retains a close friend circle. Transgender is accepted by the relative. There was a negative response in the treatment given to the character, as the family member of the Manvis does not accepted her identity, and they called in the movie by saying that you were a very smart boy, why you get changed into a female. Transgender is accepted by the society. Some people accepted the identity of Manvis, that she's a transgender, but most of the people made fun of the Manvi's identity. Transgender is accepted by the partner's family. Initially, they rejected the identity of Manvis, but after the end of the movie, it is shown that people accepted her identity. Transgender is physically abused. There was only one scene where she was abused by Manav, so it was a negative treatment. She was pushed by Manav in one scene. Transgender is teased and insulted by different name calling. Negative treatment was given, as Manvi was called as a Chakka and Kinnar by various characters in the film. transgender is given the fair opportunity to work. Before revealing the identity, she was working as a Zumba instructor. She was teaching students and various people Zumba. But after people get to know about the transgender identity, Manav's main lead sister, Manu's sister came and said, good people live over here, you should leave the gym. So she left the gym. So negative treatment was given in this case. Uh, Talking about the character analysis through appearance, Manvi's character is shown as a trans girl with a beautiful face, long hair, and slim body who likes to do makeups. Everyone around her appreciated her beauty, and many scenes it was shown that people like their beauty, and the family, even Manu's family, even also got impressed by the Manvi's beauty, and they said you should get married with the Manvi. Talking about the true communication through the others, Manvi is shown as a strong girl who takes stand for her identity. In various scenes, she has been saying that she is taking stand for her identity, that she is a trans girl and she is proud of what she is. And in there was incident like where Manu addresses her as a boy, but Manvi refused that. Don't call me a boy or munda. Call me as a girl. I'm a girl. I might born as a boy, but I am a girl. Through external actions, she's shown as a strong, independent girl. She took a strong decision. She left her home at the age of 20. She went into a sex reassignment surgery. She tries to convince people about her identity. She openly tells people that she's a trans girl. So she takes stand through her external actions. Talking about the internal actions, Manvi is shown as a character who feels conscious about the people's response, as she was worried about what people might think if they get to know about her identity. So till the end of the movie, in half of the movie, she does not reveal her identity to the Manu, because she was afraid that Manu will leave her. So she hided her identity. Talking about the conclusion part, based on the analysis, it was observed that the representation of transgender was not stereotypical. In fact, a positive treatment was given to the transgender, because in majority of the film, it is shown that transgender as a character who is in a comic role, or who is basically does not have a voice to raise his voice and take a stand for identity. But here in this film, Manvi takes stand for her identity. She is shown as a strong, confident girl who speaks for herself, follows her passion. So in majority of the film, in earlier films where transgender has been shown as a character who is engaged in the prostitutions or begging or in a criminal activity, but in this film she has been shown as a character who is full of confidence, who practices Zumba. She is a Zumba instructor who stand up for identity. She dressed like a woman. Her walk, her talk, it is not being exaggerated. She simply looks similar to a girl. This film take an important role in educating the people about the sex change surgery, why people opt for the surgery, what kind of struggle they face during their whole life. So movie positively deals with these kind of aspects, and in the end of the movie, it is shown that most of the people accepted her identity. People are not very much disturbed with her identity. And in the analysis, I found that a positive treatment is given to the character, and filmmakers should make more movies with the actual representations and with the actual struggle and the problems that they face. Filmmakers should not only focus on the negative aspect, but they should focus on the positive aspects also, because film is said to be an inspirational content. So a transgender can get a courage to follow their passion by seeing these kind of movie, and they can get the courage to stand up and tell people about what kind of identity they have. And definitely this movie uplifted the image of transgender in the film and as well as in the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satish, for the nice presentation.
Yes, Satish, yes, your presentation was good. Is there any questions? Any questions from the participants? Do we have any questions? Yes, just one question to you, Satish. You have said that you're looking into the treatment given to transgender character in Bollywood movies.
Yes,
now, yes, your presentation did speak about the treatment in spaces like physical spaces, the physical abuse or something like that, and but did you look into the verbal abuse of it? Because sometimes verbal abuse hurts more, because asking them to leave from ceremonies or asking them to go away to a different place, it's all physical and it's happening in public spaces. And definitely the verbal abuse is more hurting. So did you look into the treatment through the verbal abuse given to these characters?
Yes, I looked into that aspect also, because in two parameter where verbal abuse was used, like the trans girl was called by a different name calling, like Chakka, Kinnar. So, and the analysis, Manu, even Manu, the main character, also said Achakka. Trans girl as a chakka. Even Manu's friend has called them as a chakka. Manu's sister called her that she's a kinnar, and we will not accept her as a family member. So definitely verbal abuse was there. So I have discussed about verbal abuse also.
Okay, so because verbal abuse is something which is like very subtle, and it is not very, it's not given importance. But yes, as you do your research, probably if you look into the verbal abuse, and I think they are verbally abused more,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
yeah.
Even in my first treatment, it was said that after revealing her identity, people made fun of Manvi's identity. They said she's a chakka. So definitely she was not treated as a normal person. So my first treatment was also concerned with the verbal abuse, and some of my other parameter also deals with the verbal abuse.
Okay.
While executing, while doing her job, my one parameter was fair opportunity for the work. So she, before revealing her identity, she was working as a Zumba teacher, but she was verbally abused by the sisters that we all are in the educated society, we all live in a good society, and people like you are not allowed to do a job in this premise, so you should leave. So definitely there were verbal abuse.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, Satish. Yes. And I would just add, it is important that not everyone fits into the binary categories of male and female. Occasionally, people are born as intersex as well, having a non-typical or mixed biological sex characters. So that way, media should give importance to transgender characters and give them a platform where they can also be treated as equal in the society. Yes, that way, Satish. Yes, your paper was good. Could we move on to the thing? Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Shall we move on to the third presentation? Yes.
Thank you, madam. Now for number 11, Mr. Binek, shall we start?
Am I audible? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, yes. Yes, Binek.
Yes,
So we are
audible.
going to have a presentation, the scripting of rape, gender politics and silences on rape in Indian media reportage.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So I'm sharing the screen. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Binek.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I'm Binay Krishna KS. I am a research scholar from the Department of Journalism and Communication, University of Madras. And today I am going to present a paper called The Scripting of Rape, Gender Politics and Silence on Rape in Indian Media Reportage. So this is my statement of problem and objectives. Rape is always a considered story as well as an event, and it is through the telling of rape as a story in its different versions in shifting nuances that cultures have always debated most intensely some of the unfathomable conflicts of sexual relations and sexual identity. So this was the first quote that made my brain to think about this. It's coined by Garson and Macmillan in 1995. And my study proposes to examine the cognitive linguistic analysis of text as well as the phrases of rape reports and articles in newspapers, and also the role of media and its exposure on rape cases is also explored in detail. So this is my theoretical framework. I adopted Judith Butler's gender discord from 1990. The study employs the Judith Butler's concept of feminism and the subversion of identity 1990 to evaluate data that indicating that the situational aspects of rape and the variables influencing rape reporting decision making varied by sex, by gender. Judith Butler addressed the society's how gender discord by appending the binary perspective of sex, gender, and sexuality. The central point of her book is that the gender is not an inherent biologically determined characteristics or an intrinsic identity, but rather than continually performing in accordance with the reinforced society conventions. This is my design and methodology. The present research uses, I use the researchal content analysis to uncertain the existence of certain terms of idea in the text or collections of text, and analyzes the existence, meanings, and the connection of these terms and ideas, that then the assumption about the messages that contain the text, the authors, the audience, and even the culture and its historical period in which they are found. Text may roughly characterize as books, book chapters, essays, interviews, debates, and newspaper. But in this study, I focused on 2019 rape reports to be that was my focus. Yeah. This is the interpretation and my data. So as you can see, you can see a 4 columns. That is the 4 headlines of newspapers. So the first one was it was published in Times of India on 25th March 2019. Pollachi's calm and innocence were shattered by scandal. So this is in the context of this Pollachi rape case. You remember, I hope you remember the perpetrator. His name is Tirunavakarasu. And the second one, it was published in Hindu, rape of a woman out of heats to nature's call. Yeah, this was published in Hindu on 21st April 2019. And the third one is from Indian Express, 15 March 2019. Pollachi sex assault, my son is innocent according to the mother of accused Tirunavakarasu. So this was given as the headline of the story regarding this rape case. And the fourth one is woman Naxal, I repeat the word Naxal, was shot 10 times, yet no blood stains were seen on her uniform. Elite gang rape. So this was published, this was published in mynews.in on 16 June 2017. And the next one is from India Today on 6 February 2018. Transgender woman accused of kidnapping, mobbed, and stripped. I repeat the word stripped. So the next one is in Nandibag, a 9-year-old Dalit girl was raped by an upper caste boy. They have completely, given the social structure where the perpetrator and the victim was victim hails from. And the next one is from also the Times of India Kochi edition. That's on 14th May 2017. According to a Kerala minister, farming might help prevent rape. Farming might help prevent rape. So this was given as a headline in Times of India. And the next one is in UP, a jilted lover commits himself after murdering his sweetheart. So unfortunately, this was published in United News of India. And they have used words like sweetheart and jilted lover. So I'll give you the explanation of all these words in the next one, after explaining this. And in Hoshangabad, Madhya Pradesh, a daughter and a mother assaulted a roadside Romeo. So this was public. This was broadcasted in Z News in 2018. The next one is from Madhya Pradesh. The MP survivor, I don't want to spend my life hearing the phrase Bechari rape victim. Bechari, it means in Hindi, it means poor, it's kind of a victim language. This was published in the Hindustan Times, 20 June 2019. And the next one is also from Hindustan Times. And it's written, a monster, a Singaporean man drove his wife into a prostitution and sexually molested his daughter and he was sentenced to prison. So the perpetrator was like, you know, kind of metaphorically, he was called as a monster. And then, yeah, and the next one is like, yeah, I've written. So, so analyzing all this, I've like, you know, found out like few words. So I'll explain that now. So in most of the news, it is written as like the woman alleges rape against perpetrator. So it's written like that. Then it's written like woman claims rape. Then it is woman confesses and admits to being raped. Then they have used a word called sex scandal. You know, the word scandal, it always, you know, sensationalize the gender biased violence. And in child rape cases or child sexual abuse cases, they have always, you know, in most of the like, you know, I really don't want to like point out the newspaper, but I can tell it now. It's Times of India. They always use the word sex with minor instead of child rape or child sexual abuse. They always use the word sex with minor. The use of term sex should not be used to refer the sexual abuse or rape. Minors cannot consent to sex according to the Indian law. And then they have used a word called eve teasing. So it's basically street sexual harassment. The word teasing minimizes the gravity of the crimes and suggests that the woman ought to just ignore it and not to speak about it. And the next one is like domestic dispute, which should be termed as like domestic violence. Then jilted lover or a roadside Romeo instead of a man or a sexual harasser. Then homophobic rape, they have called it as like corrective rape. Yeah, and it's always woman rape. It's never man raped woman. And like, you know, in 21st century, we have like we have started using the word survivor instead of victim. So I think we should stick to that. And you know, also you know, the identification of survivors. So according to the section 228A, the Indian Penal Code makes the disclosing of the identity of the victim. So most of the like, you know, more than like 19 news articles which I have like came through, they have used the name of the victim. They have identified who the person is, where she is from, and about their in unfortunately in some certain cases, including their family also. So this is my conclusion. Rape scripting is conquered with victim blaming studies showing that the education and the training are necessary to minimize victim blame should also contain the information about the rape scripts. So these days we all know that like you know, the rape cases, it has gone to the page 3 reports. So they have already they have started like fantasizing, or they have started, you know, it's kind of like, you know, they have started like, you know, literally like they have romancing with all the words they can use, like all possible, you know, this normalizing words they have used. So, and sexual violence is framed in episodic or incident-based reporting as a discrete sequence of sensitive episodes rather than a broader idea of systematic violence and discrimination against the women and girls. So it's these days, and like, you know, when you come across a rape report or like, you know, an article about the rape, you know, it's all about like sensationalizing. You know, they will make it as a scandal. You know, it goes to the page 3. It goes with all pictures. You know, all sort of you know, the male-oriented version of the no, they use the male-oriented version for all these rape reports. Thank you, ma'am. Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Benek, for your informative presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, Benek, that was a good presentation. Do we have questions from the participants?
Participants, any questions? Seems that there are no questions, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Benek, I just have one question to you.
Yeah.
You have been researching on the way the scripting of rape is reported in the media. Can you tell me from your research, any one newspaper that has done at least a little justice of not, using the wrong terms, but actually reporting it in the way it has to be reported. Can you just tell me any newspaper from your research, or do you feel all the mainstream newspapers are doing the damage?
Yeah, thank you for the question, ma'am. It's kind of a difficult question to answer because when I started writing this paper, I started collecting the data from all the mainstream English dailies. The Hindu, the Times of India, the Indian Express, the Hindustan Times, everything. But in some point of or when they deal with a very sensational case, they really they come in forward to kind of identify the victim's identity. So for example, in Hindu you can see less narrative scripts, but they are very prompt to identify the victim's profile. So personally talking, I have not gone through like a very clean newspaper when it comes to the rape reports, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, thank you. That's good.
Thank you so much.
And yes, I think in all the newspapers there are victim blaming and power structures are actually involved, and rape myths and stereotypes, I think, are being carried. And the influential role of media in shaping the public discourse, you find that there's a lot of dent there. So it's not living up to the expectations. And definitely stories, how are they told and interpreted? And it's not about what you say, but how you say it. So as you said, there's more of episodic frames than thematic frames, because the thematic frames explains more about the issue and it also finds a solution, whereas episodic frames just about one case, which is just short-lived and forgotten. Yes, Vivek. I think yes, it's a good presentation. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Shall we move to the next presentation?
Thank you, madam. Next presentation, number 27, by Ms. Priya Vadani. Shall we start?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes. This is by Priya Vadani, an analysis of gender representation in Tamil films released on OTT in 2021. Okay.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. This is Kumar and Priya Vadani, and I would be making the presentation. I will be sharing the presentation. So, good morning. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity given to us. And the topic is an analysis of gender representation in Tamil films released on OTT in 2021. I would just like to clarify that our study focuses on gender in general and not about any particular gender. So why this topic? In one of the interviews, Anurag Kashyap, while asking about why the choice between the theater and the OTT platforms, he says that he enjoys freedom on OTT platforms, especially when it comes to socio-political themes. And this view is again endorsed by director Vetrimaran also. So they say that they are enjoying more freedom, and especially when it comes to movies of talking about socio-political themes, and especially when it comes to representing characters which are closer to reality. So the analysis is to just find out how the characters are portrayed and in terms of closer to reality. So we have chosen 3 movies, Jai Bhim, Mandela, and Zapata Parambarai for this study. One is they have socio-political themes, they top the list of most viewed movies, and they have characters close to reality. And the women represented are not stereotypical, but they play a very, very important role in the lives of the protagonists. And the characters, setting, dialogues, mise-en-scène elements all contribute to the broader theme of the movies. So while doing the review of literature, we came across many number of studies written on the gender representation, especially focusing on women. So here our study is general common gender irrespective of men and women. So one of the study that we came across, which talked about the representation of gender in media, analyzing the 2 movies, Sex and the City 1 and 2. Here also the researcher points out that though the women represented show strong will and conviction, they are also shown as subordinate to men. And another study which was focusing on analyzing Tamil films with critical discourse analysis approach, the researcher states that the Tamil film language has the decisive way of representing people, social relations, and identities. They are strongly bonded with ideology and power discourses in visual text. These texts are the complex identity to produce meaning, which are critical in the representation of people, identity, location, caste, etc., etc. And another important study that we came across was the representation of women in the age of globalized films. It highlights that the women characters who were shown in the movies are shown as rescuers. So this we thought is very important point because the women characters, leading women characters in the movies that we have chosen also act as rescuers. And one more review that I just want to point out is from Gunjan Sharma, who says that talking about women representation, that the bias is not only in the minds of the movie makers but also in the minds of the viewers. So the objectives are to analyze the representation of gender in movies with socio-political theme, and to analyze setting, theme, narrative structure, and mise-en-scène elements used in movies to understand how they contribute to the wholeness of movies. So methodology is, it is a qualitative approach, and movies are actually classified in 3 phases: the beginning, middle, and the end, and analyzed. And the analysis is based on the setting, theme, narrative structure, and mise-en-scène. So setting is the period, theme is the plot, and narrative is the format. And mise-en-scène talks about props, costumes, hairstyles, lighting, etc. So over to Priya.
Thank you, Satyam. Good morning to one and all on the link. Yeah, we, like Satyam has mentioned, we analyzed 3 movies that got released on the OTT platform in 2021, Jai Bhim, Mandela, directed by Madonna Ashwin, and Sarpata Parambarai. Now to the analysis and interpretation. We have done the analysis in 3 parts. The first one being genre, theme, and setting. The second one as the narrative structure, and the third one, the mise-en-scène analysis. The genre, theme, and setting for the film Jai Bhim is a crime drama mystery, which is also a courtroom drama as a subgenre. This is set in the Konamalai village, foothills of this village, where there resides this tribal community who go on to lose one of their, this character called protagonist, our protagonist, Sangeni's husband, Raja Kannu, who loses his life in a police custodial brutality, and how Sangeni fights for justice is the theme and the premise of this story. Whereas Mandela is a political satire. It's got the subgenre of comedy, which goes on to speak how this character, who has no identity or who holds no value in a village like this, a village called Surangudi, goes on to get his identity and what his hardships are once he gets his identity. And the third film is Sarpata Parambarai. It's a sports action drama with a lot of ideologies, political ideologies being spin into it. And it talks about 2 clans, boxing communities, and how they fight for their pride of winning. The narrative structure, Jai Bhim, it begins with a very good linear narrative structure and moves on to get complex in the film, where in the 3 acts, the first act is the establishment of how this entire clan of the irregular tribe are shown, their lives, their living conditions, their culture, the richness of, they have their own art forms, their dance and their music, their living, the respect that they have for each other, and a very nice understanding between the men and women of this particular culture. Nobody's seen as, up or down within their own tribe. But whereas when it comes to them meeting the upper caste community, the treatment that they get, the discrimination that they face is huge. And this film, especially throughout the 3 scenes, talks not about how police brutality is against the tribe of Irregular, but it's against the discrimination that they face that leads to this kind of a police brutality. And Act 3 of this film deals with how Chandru, the advocate who fights for Sangeni and gets her justice, where she looks for justice and not any kind of compensation which she gets from the government. The narrative structure of Mandela is very simple. It's a very linear fashion story. It begins with this character, our protagonist, who's called Ilichavayan, because that's the way he's being treated by the people over there. He's done all kind of jobs, all odd jobs and mean jobs that these people leave for him to do, for which he doesn't even get good remuneration. And it goes on to him getting his own identity, seeking that for a reason, and how he deals once he gets that power. And the political parties that are involved in this particular story of Mandela, two groups, though they belong to the same community, have they woo this protagonist of ours by giving away gifts and, just for the sake of getting his vote, which will decide the end result of the elections that's to come. And towards Act 3, we see how Mandela uses his power to come up with the development and the progress of his own village, despite him being threatened for his life. And what happens towards the end is a very nice ending, which we also would want in reality to happen. The third film, Sarpata Parambarai's narrative structure, again, is linear, but there is many ups and downs in this film, especially where we see there's almost like 2-3 protagonists' life that we can follow in the story. The main one being Kabilan. We follow his passion and his devotion towards his coach, where he goes on to participating in a boxing bout. And once when Rangan, his coach, when he takes his name and he says he will face the ring along with more powerful Wembuli, he almost wins the case, he almost wins the match, but towards the mid, or rather in Act 2's midpoint, we see that for some reason the match gets stopped. We also have certain ideologies being shown. It is the period of emergency in this time, in the setting of 1970s mid-Madras, where DMK is in party, and we also have MGR-led ADMK in Indira Gandhi's emergency period happening. So owing to many reasons in the political scenario, the boxing actually comes to a halt. But towards Act 3, we see how he comes back to his form. He loses his self and his confidence in between. And we have the other women characters, though not primary or important, they do play a very strong role in boosting up the confidence level of Kabilan and bringing him back to the match, which they win ultimately. Mise-en-scène, the third part and the important part of our analysis, we did it in taking in account all the important elements of mise-en-scène, which is the composition, lighting, expression, the dialogues, body language, and the costume, hair, and makeup. And also, we went on to see the settings and props, which we began with. Yes. This is the first film, Jai Bhim, in the analysis. For the setting, we see how these people live in the outskirts of the same village, whereas in smaller huts, the tribal community, they live together. Whereas in contrast, we see the upper community in a well-established brick house. And one very good example of how they value their things and how they store it. When Raja Kanu leaves for work to the brick kiln, with the advance money that he has got, he stores it in a small tin container, which he receives before his work. Whereas the place where he goes to cat snake, which is his profession as such, which the tribal community follow, he gets to see an entire room where an albera is separately kept for storing valuables like money and jewelry. Okay. For the costumes, all the tribal community people wear dusty clothes and also very muted kind of a coloration, whereas the upper community or the people who have the political heads and village heads, we see them in all in veshtis and dhotis and shirts. The police, the advocate characters, the DIG, the IG characters, all of them are seen in their professional crisp clothes. For color, we see Sengeni's costumes mostly in yellow and in green, where it talks about progressive and hope for the story, and where she stands fighting for justice. The composition of this film especially is fantastic, where we see the framing of every single character goes along with the emotions that they carry. Lighting, two shots that I definitely want to mention is this shot where Raja Kanu is brutally being beaten in custody, in the police custodial torture, and how he is, this chiaroscuro lighting that's on him really emotes the pain. This second second shot that you get to see is where inside the lockup, where the Raja Kanu and before Raja Kanu, his other relatives have been brought over there, his sister and his brother-in-law and all of them, and how the light focuses on the victims rather than the person who is torturing them. The last two shots of IG Perumal Swamy and Advocate Chandru, you see Perumal Swamy breaking barriers, an advocate who is crossing borders to fight for justice. IG Perumal also seeks the same. He is shown as a very good man, but still he goes on to standing within the boundaries, but still fight for justice. The two different varieties of characters that we get to see. Yes, this one is about, yes, this is the mise-en-scène analysis that we did for Mandela. And this is set in a Surunburi village where there's a central banyan tree, and it's divided into two streets, the northerners and the southerners. In the initial phases, we see how Mandela, this character, is treated as a very simple, no, like I said, no identity, no address, no belonging. He's called as this Podu, okay? So he doesn't belong neither here nor there. And also he belongs to the lower strata of the society, so nobody owns him up. So he's just there out in the open under a banyan tree. And his innocence is showcased in the way his cradle, just the cloth bed that he hangs from the, where he lies down, hanging from the banyan tree. But once he gets his identity, owing to the support that he receives from this character called Temudi, who's almost dressed in shades, rusty shades, who is a grounded support for Mandela. Once he gets his ID card, there is a shot where, for applying for his ID card, where he's framed with chiaroscuro lighting with much dramatic shadows on his face. This is to show that he's been the transformation, or rather the reinvention of this character called from Smile or Elichavayan to Mandela. And once he gets his ID card, we see the differences in colors. When he's in trouble, there's a lot more night shots and dark shades. When he's getting wooed by these two political parties, when he enjoys all the goods that he gets from it, food and clothing and whatnot, where we see Mandela enjoying all of that, and he's dressed like them, but treated still the same way, like where he belongs to in the society. The initial few shots, in fact, he looks in for a back door, like he uses in every other house of the upper community. He uses the back door for entrance. So when he reaches the postal office, he's also looking for a back door. That shows like whatever changes, his mindset of being, suppressed can never change. And he's also very careful in the way he interacts with the upper community people, the upper strata, not to hurt their attitudes or sentiments about what they are and what he is. Whereas in contrast, this other person, his assistant come friend, Girda, you see him as a very confident boy. He stands for his own self-respect, and he keeps on mocking this friend of his, Mandela, saying, you should not lose your dignity like this. The screen space that they share, this is not like the usual formulaic hero characters. That said, for all three films, you see them as sharing equal space with the others. They don't have any heroic things that they do. And towards the end, where you have the northerners and southerners beating him up, the camera actually goes down to see what level he has, he's fallen down to. And the revival shots beautifully explains a high angle shot where we look up to Mandela taking back his state in deciding the fate of the elections. Yeah, the last one is on scene of Sarpata Parambarai. Yes. This is like I said, in the setting, it's the 1970s Madras. So you see in the settings and in the props, you get to see the old Madras, the Paris, the Mint Clock Tower area, the Mount Road sequences, all broad empty areas. But the story concentrates on North Madras. So you get to see a contrast of crowded areas over there, crowded people. People who have a very nice passion and love for the sport. So many faces, multi-dimensional characters with layers of emotions. Every character has so much of emotion to carry, and the relationship that they carry with each other is something to watch for. Yeah, the setting, most of it that we see is a typical 1 or 2 houses, more of the boxing, spare rings, and the tent where the boxing bout happens. Now we see our main protagonist, Kabilan, all of them, because it's a 1970s kind of a period film, the total tone, the lighting that is shown for all is much desaturated. It's not bland though, it's desaturated, and it's kept very, very mild, muted. Yeah. And the colors that they get to choose, basically in this kind of a film, which talks about Ambedkar's ideologies and Periyarist, philosophies, it's dominated with more of red and blue. Red being the political party that Rangan Vadiyar supports, and of course blue, the Ambedkar ideologies. So we see, especially in the last shot, when he comes with a blue robe and he says it's time for us to win, and he fights with his blue gloves on, there is a kind of a very happy mood setting, and this will to fight not only in Kabilan but in all others, which is shown through their emotions in the way the body language and actions are shown. Yes, many properties in the film, throughout the film, shows its 1970s period, and the ideologies that all three films carries are shown in the way properties are placed everywhere. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I can't hear you.
Ma'am, the voice was breaking.
Oh, my voice was breaking. Is it clear now, ma'am? Okay. Yeah, to conclude, the findings that we have based on our objectives that we looked in for during our analysis, all the characters in all three films, irrespective of what, all of them are socio-political stories. We see all the characters that are there, irrespective of their gender, portraying realism throughout. the so-called upper community and lower community, irrespective of whatever gender, the way they behave to each other, upper community towards the lower community always treats them bad. And you see that both men and women in the upper caste, they derive their strength from their society that they belong to, whether it's a male or female. We get to see the women in the upper community ill-treating the men in the lower community. And in all three films, we get to see all of the mise-en-scène elements, the costume, the hairstyle, makeup, composition, everything which is well knit to support this socio-cultural, socio-political theme of the movies in which they belong to. Yes, ma'am. And one last point to add, irrespective of genders, all genders, they have their own strength. They are not the usual formulaic hero or stereotypical women or heroic male characters. All genders are shown in their realistic nature, very strong, very assertive, very unique in their nature, and in their own ways, they stand out, carrying the realistic nature of themselves. Yes, ma'am, we'd like to conclude with that.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that was a good presentation.
Ma'am, I think your voice is breaking.
Madam, your voice is breaking. Actually, Professor Beulah got some technical issues. She will be with us within 2 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Sorry about that. Yes, yes, it was a good presentation by Ms. Priyavadani and Ms. Satyabhama Upili. Definitely. Do we have any questions from the audience, the participants?
Participants, any questions? You can write in the chat box.
Okay, so
Seems there are no questions.
yes, I will just ask a question. Now, the thing is, the paper actually talks about gender representation in Tamil movies released in OTT. Now, do you find any difference between the gender representation in the mainstream platform and the OTT platform? And my second question is, what about the women characters? Are they shown more, you understand, are they shown more brave? Are they shown more stronger? Or how is it in the mainstream? How are they shown? And how do you think, because it's specifically the paper talks about films released in the OTT platform? Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the questions. I'll take the first question, ma'am. These three films, they have a socio-political background. They revolve around the male character. All of these three films have male as protagonists, but the women characters in the films are definitely strong. they do support the protagonist, though they're not stereotypical. All three directors, be it Gnanavel or be it Paranjit or Madonna Ashwin, they've treated the characters not as the typical ones that we get to see in mainstream Tamil movies, the commercial film, where you have certain gender traits for the women. But here they are seen in their normal, they are seen in their realistic clothes, like how we would see in life, very realistic, the way they dress, the way they talk. In fact, they go on to support the protagonist in their harsh ways of talking. They're not concerned about their appearance.
There's somebody talking in the background. Could you please? Yes.
Yeah.
One of the participants, I think, has not muted their mic, so we're not able to hear. Yes. Yeah. Now fine.
Yes, ma'am. So unlike the mainstream commercial blockbusters, over here, these three films that were intended and released on OTT show the characters as strong, real-life characters. They do not carry any typical heroine traits, or even the heroes, the protagonists. They don't have a song which boosts up their energy. They're not there doing heroic things that we generally expect. They have their own flaws that's depicted. The female also, without being appearance confident, concerns, they're shown as they are. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is fine. Yes.
The second question, ma'am, sorry.
The second question is how the gender. I was asking about what is the difference between the mainstream as well as the OTT platforms? How do you look at the mainstream films? Do you find a difference? Do you think the OTT platforms show men and women more stronger? Because when you are specifically looking at OTT platforms, that's exactly what I'm asking.
Right. Yes, ma'am. These three films, if at all they were, showcased in a normal theater view, probably it wouldn't have garnered so much of audience or so much of views as it has done. These are the top 3 most watched movies on OTT in 2021 in the Tamil category. And if we get to see, all the heroes that they play, the so-called protagonists that we have, are not the ones that we get to see on commercial cinema. People cannot walk into the theater looking for, them to showcase their confidence or, certain stunt sequences to show how physically strong they are. There are no glamour-clad songs over here. All of those commercial elements that anybody would require in a mainstream cinema is totally nil in these 3 films. And yet they have proven to be successful on the OTT platform. So even otherwise, apart from these 3 films, the films that we get to watch or are listed as the top trending or the most watched films are something that support reality. So there is a huge difference between the films that get released on the mainstream traditional film or television and the one that's intended for OTT. Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. It's a good paper. Yes, congratulations. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we proceed with the next presenter?
The next presenter is our
Shanta Raju.
Raju and Medha Kulkarni. Are female characters the true symbol of post-feminism or an illusion of it? A study concerning films of Juhi Chaturvedi. Yes.
Yes, so yes, ma'am. Can I go ahead?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, sorry, one second. I would like to share my screen. May I begin?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
So this is a study concerning Juhi Chaturvedi's movies where we aim to analyze whether contemporary female characters are a true symbol of post-feminism or simply an illusion of it. Cinema, as we know, plays an integral role in influencing attitudes, determining perceptions, and reinforcing dominant cultural values. Among the various industries of Indian cinema, Hindi cinema or Bollywood as we know it has the widest reach due to the language used and the global reach. Thus, it is important to have a critical look at the Bollywood productions. There has been recently a rise in female filmmakers and screenwriters. Juhi Chaturvedi is one such screenwriter, and we aim to analyze her female characters. Talking about literary reviews. As we have seen throughout movies of the present and past, media communicates unrealistic and limited perspectives of women, which influences the cultural norms. And these cultural views of gender depict women as sex objects. They are often shown as passive, dependent, and often incompetent. They devote their primary energies to improving their appearances or taking care of homes and people. And because media pervades our lives, the way they represent genders may completely distort how we see ourselves and what we see as desirable for men and women. The stereotypical portrayal of women is present in movies throughout. The female characters are either in the role of the doting mother or the devoted wife, and male gaze densely manipulates the portrayal of women in Indian cinema. However, the filmmakers today have a choice. They can either act as a device of empowerment by showing women in powerful roles, or they can stick to the same old portrayals. Now we have seen that there is a transforming landscape. Previously, there was the Bollywood industry that suffered from a dearth of women behind the camera, and it can be assumed that the portrayal of women on screen by male directors alone is replete with biases and constraints, as they may fail to capture the perceptions of female characters. Nevertheless, lately, feminine perspective is being represented more sensitively. We have seen screenwriters like Kalpana Lajmi and Aparna Sen gaining recognition. More contemporary writers are Reema Das, Ghazal Dhaliwal, and Kanika Dhillon. The theoretical framework that has been used for this particular research paper is post-feminism. Post-feminism has been described as a sensibility, and it is an intersection of postmodernism, post-colonialism, post-structuralism, and feminism. It is a process of ongoing transformation and change, and has received different perspectives from different theorists. It has been described as a deterritorialization of patriarchal power and a reterritorialization of women's bodies. The parameters that have been used for this particular study are independence and agency, firstly. Independence and agency concentrates on autonomy, financial independence, and empowerment. Secondly, sexual freedom. Post-feminism transforms sexual objectification into sexual subjectification. Thirdly, diversity. In this contemporary era, post-feminism is often described in intersectional terms and helps understand our culture. The objective of this paper is to conduct a thematic analysis of the movies of Juhi Chaturvedi, draw a character sketch of the woman portrayed, and thirdly, conduct a post-feminist analysis of those characters. The research question: are contemporary female characters in the movies of Juhi Chaturvedi true symbols of post-feminism or simply an illusion of it? The methodology that has been used is thematic narrative analysis method. The thematic narrative analysis method is a qualitative research method, and it focuses on the themes or patterns of meaning within the data collected. It is especially instrumental while shedding light on the influence of theoretical perspectives such as post-feminism. 4 movies are being studied. Firstly, Wikidonor, which talks about sperm donation. Secondly, we have Gulabo Sitabo. It focuses on property and the repercussions of fighting over it. Thirdly, October. It talks about grief and hope. And fourth, we have Piku, which speaks about old age and the bonding between a father and his daughter. These are all movies, the screenplay of which has been written by Juhi Chaturvedi, who has emerged as one of the country's most significant cinema writers. All 4 films, as we can see, revolve around rather unusual subjects. The scripts, she says, are inspired by her own life experiences making the films about real life stories rather than simply grand escapist narratives. The analysis. The analysis has been focused on, as suggested previously, independence and autonomy. Here we will be looking at two separate things. Financial independence, decision-making abilities, that is exercising her agency of choice, and beyond and without marriage, where women do not look at marriage as a priority. The second thing that we will be looking at is women going beyond chastity and virginity. And thirdly, women's identity and universal appeal that will act as a parameter of diversity as well. The findings that have been collected. Talking about independence and agency, in the 4 movies, we can see that in Vicky Donor, Ashima is a banker. And Dolly, who's Vicky's mom, runs her own salon. And Piku is an architect and a business partner at a firm. And Vidya Iyer, Shuli's mother in October, is a professor, a single mother, who runs the entire family and shoulders the responsibilities of 3 children. Thus, we can see that the actions of the female characters align with their beliefs, and they are not afraid to be assertive. They take their life decisions and thus control the pace of their own life. This economic stability that the women have gained brings more confidence in managing their life and celebrating their existence. The aspiration for a satisfying career has taken priority over marriage. These women have aspirations of companionship, yes, but they also face difficulties in finding the right match. In a particular scene in Piku, Irfan Khan's character asks Deepika's character whether why was this choice to still be single? And she says that it's not that bad, and she hasn't found a worthy match yet. Even in Vicky Donor, Ashima's aunt is a woman in her 50s, and when questioned about her decision to remain single, she simply states that she hasn't found someone suitable. Talking about beyond chastity, in Indian society or in Indian cinema as well, women who indulge in sex before marriage are seen as promiscuous. Even during moments of intimacy, the women are portrayed as shy and passive. Juhi Chaturvedi's characters present a stark contrast to such a depiction. She treats her character during sexual encounters with dignity, and there is absolutely no judgment about their characters. Piku talks about her relationships as casual. And in Gulabo Sitabo, this Guddu and Fauzi are sexually positive. Thirdly, talking about universal appeal and diversity. Mother's characters in Hindi cinema is that of a generous, compassionate, and caring woman who is often all-giving and forgiving, as we have seen in Mother India or Khoobsurat or Dahej. However, in the movies of Juhi Chaturvedi, Dolly is a Punjabi woman in her 50s, and she runs the parlor all by herself. And sometimes when Vicky helps her out, she sees nothing wrong in it when she takes his help doing waxing or among other jobs. And she relaxes over a drink with her mother-in-law. In October, Professor Vidya Iyer, a Tamilian, is a single mother who shoulders the responsibilities. She respects Dan's friendship with her daughter and does not question their relationship. In Gulabo Sitabo, Begum is a woman in her 90s from Lucknow, and she's sophisticated, intelligent, and outspoken. She's shown as dominating, and she's aware of her culture, of her social class, and her cultural inheritance, and strives to behave accordingly. To conclude, I would like to say that the characters of Juhi Chaturvedi break away from conventions and stereotypes. They have their own identity and goals. Their struggles go beyond romantic or domestic modes. Archaic gender norms and relations never dictate their choices. They do not belong to a specified age group or region, as we see the characters hail from Delhi, Kolkata, Lucknow, and Chennai. So they enjoy sexual and economic freedom as well. This prompts universality in the representation of women as one. Thus, we can say that Juhi Chaturvedi's characters are truly post-feminist in character. Thank you so much. The references that have been used are Laura Malvi's Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema, and Chaudhry's Feminism and Its Other, and Manzar and Arvind's Rethinking Women in Indian Cinema. Thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, madam, for the nice presentation.
Yes.
Any participant has any question?
Okay, there are no questions? Yes. So my question is, it's not a question, it's just a suggestion. It's to Ms. Mehta, right? Mehta.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So post-feminism, post-feminists are actually persons who believe in ideologies from feminism of the 1970s, right? So some of them actually criticize feminism because it's in the transformation form. So you find Juhi Chaturvedi, who was actually a former advertising professional, moving into a post-feminist kind of a slot by accepting the second wave and the third wave feminism, or is she looking at transformation from the existing feminism into a new form?
Mom, like I mentioned in my presentation, there are contesting views of post-feminism that have been given. Like you said, some will say that it is a knee-jerk reaction to first and second waves of feminism, and that it believes that currently in this society, feminism or equality is already present. So feminism is no longer, as useful as it used to be. But there is another perspective that post-feminism is actually feminism is actually feminism for the postmodern era. So here we are going forward with the beliefs of feminism. The foundations remain the same, but we are adapting them to the current culture and beliefs. So I think that is what Juhi Chaturvedi's characters are trying to do.
Yes, definitely. Yes. The presentation was very good, Mehta. And how you have actually analyzed the movies of different characters, the characterization of the movies are clearly given. Yes, good.
Thank you.
Shall we go on to the next presenter?
Hello, am I audible?
Oh, this is
Adit Pariyar.
Okay, Adit Pariyar.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, very much. Yes. So the presentation, the paper is titled Examining the Defamation and Hostility Towards the Hindi Film Industry, Its Existence as a Soft Power as well as a Soft Target. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Is my presentation visible? Yes. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Adit Pariyar. I teach at Bijanbari Degree College in Darjeeling, West Bengal. So my paper is titled Examining the Defamation and Hostility Towards the Hindi Film Industry, Its Existence as a Soft Power as well as a soft target. Okay, I'll be referring to Hindi films as Bollywood. So Hindi films are much more than an entertainment industry. It exists as a soft power as well as a soft target. So the cinematic universe has managed to entertain us, the Indian audiences, for decades. It is a kind of escapism. Okay, audiences can escape from the everyday mundanities of everyday life for a also informative. Movies are reflecting society in unprecedented ways, and filmmakers are now dealing with contemporary socially relevant issues. Then there are the film stars who are no less of icons and with massive fan followings, and the influence they exert, whether it's the social media presence or the products they endorse. Okay, people follow them in millions, and they exert an influence that cannot be taken lightly. Okay, so what is soft power? Okay, Joseph Nye was the first political scientist who coined the term soft power. Okay, it is the ability to influence the behaviors of others through one's benefit. Okay, contrary to hard power, it is the ability to influence without the use of force. So culturally, a country can be a soft power to the extent of a nation's cultural appeal, in its diplomacy, the strength of its diplomacy, and through its government, the quality of its country's political institutions. So these are the criteria in which a country can exert a soft power. So how is Bollywood a soft power? It is a soft power in terms of economics as well as socio-cultural factors. It is the biggest movie industry by number of films produced and the employment it creates. Okay, it grew 20% in the financial year 2020, and it is expected to add 11.1 lakh jobs in the next 5 years. So it is expected to grow in the future. In socially, culturally, it is significant as it has managed to reflect society, and it is relating to our consciousness. It is socially relevant because now films are dealing with subjects such as homosexuality, same-sex marriage, domestic violence, child abuse. Okay, so these films like Submangal, Savdan, Tare Zameen Par, Padman, Piku, they are all dealing with socially relevant issues. Then there are the women-centric films. Now filmmakers are exploring subjects from the women's perspectives, breaking the stereotypes of mainstream cinema. So now women are central to the storyline, which have forced creators to take a fresh look at the different roles played by women. So these are the examples of the films that deal with women topics, and women are becoming central to the movies. Then there are the film stars, okay, film personality. Yesterday's actors like Raj Kapoor, Manoj Kumar, Madhubala, they were all not only famous in India but also abroad. Hema Malini was known as a dream girl everywhere. Okay, then the directors like Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Sam Benegal, they were not only popular in India but abroad too. Their films were viewed and loved. Okay, then post-liberalization, the three Khans, Deepika Padukone, Priyanka Chopra, and Irfan Khan saw their international stardom reaching new heights. Then I'll give you an example of an international market. Bollywood films are very popular in China. Amir Khan is the most popular actor in China. Now, China has a quota system which allows only 34 global films released annually. So, Dangal was the highest Bollywood movie outside of India of all time. Amir Khan film's Superstar became a huge hit, and his show Jayanta is very popular in China. Okay, so China has emerged as a huge market for Hindi films. So not only in India, abroad too, Hindi films are popular. Okay, now soft target. Okay, how is Bollywood a software? So what is software? Software is something which is very easy to attack or take advantage of. Okay, so who can be targeted? Individuals can be targeted, organization can be targeted, and sectors can be targeted. Why it is done? To malign them, intimidate them, or simply to harass them. Okay, so how is Bollywood a soft target? The films are targeted, the actresses are targeted, and even the industry are targeted. Bollywood has faced defamation for far too often over the years to go unnoticed. I'll give you an example. The film NH10, when it was released backlash for demonizing Haryana and showing the state in a poor light in terms of human rights issue. Then the director, Sanjay Leela Bansali, was attacked on his set in 2017 for his film while he was shooting for his film Padmavat. Okay, then the intimidation and tactics. Any form of criticism or questioning of social issues are met with a hostile reception. Stars get trolled and attacked on social media. So what are the tools employed? Indiscriminate tax investigation, trumped-up accusation, and the chilling rap of enforcement agencies at the doors. These are the tools utilized to harass them. Okay, as they are solved. I'll give you two examples now. When Sushant Singh Rajput case was going on, the entire film fraternity was put on trial and they became public enemy number one. Terms such as nepotism and boycott Bollywood started trending. A media circus we had never seen before was orchestrated, and news anchors kept talking about this to divert public attention. Then again, recently when Aryan Khan was arrested, the same tactics of excessive media gaze was used to target Bollywood. Okay, Aryan Khan was portrayed as an entitled rich bat. Okay, and the whole of Bollywood was characterized as a den of drug users, and everything was done to vilify father-son duel. Why was this done? Because at the same time, what was happening? The biggest drug bust in India had happened in Gujarat, and farmers were being mowed down in Uttar Pradesh. But these topics were completely avoided. Okay, in prime time media channels did not have any, was not showing much debate and discussion on these topics. Okay, observation. What we can feel is that many feel threatened by the changing power of changing dynamics of power and popularity Bollywood yields. Without moral and ethical consideration, TV channels, social media platforms, and some sections of society are hell-bent on defaming Bollywood. Okay, why is this done? This is done to deflect tactics. Okay, by putting the spotlight on Bollywood, divergent tactics come into play to avoid discussion on important topics such as unemployment, rising fuel prices, inflation, and communal harmony that is happening in the country right now. So what can we conclude from all this? Movies have their own plus and negative points, just like everything else. So it is not that Bollywood does not have any flaws, but Bollywood as a creative industry can anchor society cutting across cultural and political borders. Okay. Now, in this regard, Bollywood resonates with its audiences and it has begun to focus on contemporary issues through its socially relevant films. And this can be perfectly summed up by giving you the example of Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. His popularity and craze has remained same over the years. So he has managed to remain relevant over the years. His fan following cuts across borders, race, age, and ethnicity. People don't care about his religion. Nobody criticizes his height or his looks. They love him for what he is, a Bollywood hero who has managed to entertain the audiences for so many decades. And this is a perfect example of a plural society. Bollywood remains as a last standing bastion of a plural society. This is what I want to say. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Adit.
Yes, Mr. Adit. And do we have any questions from the participants? Any questions? Okay, Mr. Adit, it was a good presentation. And my question is, of late, there was one director who was again targeted along with Sanjay Leela Bhansali. Can you tell me which director?
Anubhav Sinha?
Yes, yeah.
Anubhav, yes, I think the tax investigation, yes, I remember that, yes.
Yes, I think the biggest case was Anurag Kashyap, where he said that the Hindi film industry is a soft target. And he was, and I think social media trolled and many other things.
Yeah.
So what is the solution? You think, okay, is it because the Hindi film industry is very pluralistic that it is being attacked? And how do you think, because often of late, as you say, the Hindi film industry has been the target of attack by news anchors, and it is sometimes politically motivated. So how do you think a solution can be got? What has to be done? Because this has been growing in the recent times. What is the solution, do you think?
First of all, people are targeting Bollywood because it is like a deflection tactics. It is very easy to attack, and it acts as a very deflective way in to not discuss on socially relevant issues. Okay, there are so many things happening in the country right now that are plaguing the nation. Okay, like inflation, rising fuel prices, unemployment. So people are targeting Bollywood. Now, one of the ways in which this can be stopped at prominent film personality has to stand up and take a stand. Okay, they have to speak out. They have to start speaking out. They have to say, no, stop this. This is wrong. Okay, not everything is wrong with our industry. As you can see, side by side, what is happening is that in the business community, people are looting the country of millions of rupees and running away. But nobody seems to vilify the business community. Just because of a few apples, nobody seems to vilify the business community. But in the film industry, just because of a few incidents, all the spotlight is put on them, and they are characterized as a den of drug users, nepotism is training, casting couch is training. Okay, so they are just targeting one section. Okay, it is very easy to. One of the reasons why this is happening is that not many are standing up and speaking up. Even if they stand up and speak up, they are being targeted. Okay, enforcement agencies are let loose on them. Social media, they are trolled, death threats are given to them, even rape threats are given to some of the actresses. Okay, this is happening. Okay, some might fear that. Okay, some are waiting to pass it away. They are thinking that maybe it will pass away. Maybe the attacks will stop in the future. Now, some are not standing up because when Amir Khan stood up and said that he was not safe in India, he was said to leave India. These are happening. So not many are speaking up right now. Okay. So I think these are the reasons. Yes.
Yes, Ajit. Adit, yes. Yeah, that was answering my question. Yes. Thank you for the presentation.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
It was a good one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we proceed with the next presenter?
So the next presentation is a study on web series watched by youth during COVID-19 lockdown in Bangalore City by Rakesha. Yes. So Rakesha.
Yeah, I'm here, ma'am. A very good morning to one and all. With the permission of chair and with the participant permission. Like to share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible to all. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, thank you very much. And my topic, myself, Rakesh Talipoti. I'm assistant professor in Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in Vijayanagar Sri Krishna Deva Raya University, Bellary. So my topic is study on web series watches by youth during COVID-19 lockdown, and particularly with reference to Bangalore city, because as I have belongs to the state of Karnataka, I've chosen the metropolitan city of Bangalore. So web series, the past few years, the online entertainment industry in India has marked the major growth. This has all been possible because of the changing lifestyle of the Indian viewers. That is also from the COVID-19 hit, and significant changes in the type of content consumed in the introduction of various online video streaming platforms on which the content is served to them in the hand, we can say, with a smartphone. And with the introduction of faster and cheaper internet services, where we get during the COVID-19 lockdown from the operators like Geo and Airtels, which again had the major growth in the access of internet content. In terms of number of people visiting online for content, obviously they spend their time in watching online videos as well. And today in India, it's turning towards in the new era because the web series are dominating anything. These web series seems almost the tailor-made for younger generation of country like India, who partially lives almost half of their time on internet. What possibly guarantees the brownie points of this series? The fact that its creator have the web stories center around every Indian, because it's quite like common stories on the daily life, what is happening in every Indian. The web series are more focusing on those kind of stories. So begin with my introduction part. The OTT platforms and the web series are getting increasingly popular among the youths, as I mentioned, especially during COVID-19 lockdown. And it also made a decline in viewership of television. And many research points out of the OTT over the top platforms are much more customized medium television, and the youth can relate to the content of new breed of web series, because in the web series they always and almost looking for a new kind of content and a new kind of stories and the narration style. And it's further shift of a traditional audience of films who love to watch films in a 70 screen in a theater. It was shifted to a 40 inches television screen a couple of years ago. Now it is shifted to 5 to 6 inches of a screen, which we call the smartphone, which we hold every day. So what is web series then? In a simple way, the web series series of it is a scripted or a non-scripted online videos. We generally have the episode format, and which is released on the internet, and it is a part of some web television medium as well. And to put it simple, web series is a series of video episode that released on OTT to tell a story over the internet. And these are the few famous Indian web series where a list. I think quite of us have saw these web series, namely the most famous one, the Sacred Games and the Family Man and the Patal. These all are the famous web series where we can list out in India. And the relation of OTT and web series is about the OTT is encompasses the most prominent platform entire world to spread and amplify on any sort of contemporary issues. Very recently in Karnataka, there was controversy of hijab, and moving to the nation level, now they are all about talking about the Kashmir fights, the movie of the Kashmir fights. It is like the contemporary issues which can be spread and amplified through OTT. And in India, the marketing value of OTT, it is after the COVID, what we call the post-COVID, it had around 5 billion in the year of 2018, and dramatically it has raised to 24 billion in the year of 2021. And it has the high reach irrespective of any border or country, which made OTT popular forever. This is the major point which the OTT has the popularity. It doesn't have any what we call the boundary or the restrictions. And the youths of the country found it mere platform where any new actor finding their way to our public organizations like OTT technology found immense potential during the time of COVID-19 hit. Before that, even in India, there was not of much popularity about the online platforms. Like that, in OTT also get into a mainstream after the COVID-19 hit. And coming to the point, major OTT streaming services all are the online service providers are Hotstar, which was basically the Indian streaming partner. Hotstar does not have a subscription charges before 2020, but now they have made the subscription charges, which starts with 199 per month and goes up to 999 rupees per annum. And it was the IPL when the 2019, which came live streaming services, which pulled more downloads this particular streaming web service. And the second one and the most popular one is the Prime Videos, called Amazon Prime. Popularly, it is known as Amazon Prime. It is a business giant which is originated from America, and it have a subscription charges around 179. It starts with 179, and it have a quarterly services and annual services, and it have almost 2,500 movies, and 500 TV shows, and more than 100 web series incorporated in their services. And one next most popular one is Netflix. It is also originated from US, and it entered to India in the year 2016. But at that time, it was not much popular. And it also sponsored to create some original created TV shows. It was concentrating on the originally created TV shows. It is the main motto which it was entered into India. And now it have the subscription charges also. It has reduced. Before it was around 499. Now it got reduced to 149 rupees, and it have some different plans which goes to 8,000 rupees per annum. Next one is Sony Live. This particular platform is owned by Sony Pictures Networks, and which does not have any subscription charges, but it runs through the internet. Now we have a 5G services in some of the metropolitans. Through that, Sony has conquered the growth of streaming services, and it also entered to Tier 2 cities compared to metro cities. Not only in metro cities, it also entered to Tier 2 cities. And Z5, the next one is it is the streaming services which holds by SL Group via Z Entertainment Enterprises, which holds the membership of 499 rupees per year and the popular movie, some of the popular Bollywood movies also getting telecast through this C5. One among which we can take an instance is Salman Khan's Radhe, which was released through this C5 platform. And apart from this, there are other web series or web services which providing our root originals and ALT Balaji and some of the video on demand services like Colors, MTV, and Nickelodeon. Those are also the cheapest OTT streaming services which are available in India. And going to the next slide, the negative impact of OTT, where we can made some of the points which was occurred in India during the post-COVID or during the COVID time. One instance we can take is in Haryana, there is a place called Ballamgarh. There, the become student who was returning home after she completes her exam. A guy entered in front of her and shot her suddenly. And accused was in love with the shot-dead girl. And when the police get caught the person and the statement that guy who was gave, it is very shocking because he is inspired and planned the assassination after watching the web series Mirzapur, where in Mirzapur, the Munna Bhaiya, the character called Munna Bhaiya, who was shot a girl named Sweetie in the matter of one side love. And in other incident, the kidnapping of two boys, which was held in Delhi, New Delhi, in Jamia Nagar, which was influenced by watching many national and international web series. And also in other case, the extortion of designed by poor youths after watching web series. So these are the, some negative impact which the OTT is what we call OTTs. OTT or the web series are what we call. It is giving the boost, or it is giving some ideas to the youths to offense some kind of crime activities, which can make the negative impact of OTT. And coming to my objectives, the first objective is to understand the perception of youth on web series with related to Bangalore City, and to find the reason behind popularity and interest behind the web series, and to get information of web series watching activity due to COVID-19 lockdown, and to find out the popular streaming platform among the youth of Bangalore. So as to achieve my objectives, I have used the methodology. I have used the survey method, and in survey method, I have prepared a structured questionnaire. It was circulated through the Google Forms, and my size of sample is 95. The age group between 17 to 28, which we consider as youth, included male as well as female. As a result, after getting some of the respondents' reply, the analysis of the percentage were carried out with the compiled data, which results 95% of the youth resided in Bangalore City are using OTT platforms, and most preferably they use OTT to watch the web series or the other. And Amazon Prime is the most popular streaming platform among the youth in Bangalore. And the popular majority of youngsters like to watch and observe the comedy and the comedy shows. At 70% of the youth, interestingly, don't know. 70% of the parents, the youths, doesn't know what their children's are watching in OTT. This is my result. And these are the characteristics of web series, where the concept experience boosts is not working, because in movies, before it get released or it get revealed, we make a lot of hype and it give a lot of advertisement to make a popularize about the movie. Where in web series it will not happen until and unless you are getting to the particular streaming. Say web series does not have that much of advertisement hype when compared to movies. And the creative talents, it is the important point, the creative talents are producing through the web series. The unknown person or the unknown artist is coming to our mainstream and they are presenting their talents. And the vertically differentiate the quality of the inputs used in the production. It is also because, for example, you can take here the B-list screenplay, like the unknown producer or the unknown writer or the unknown director, who can also pull the A grade or the A-list actor if we have the narration and the good storyline within him. It is the beauty of web series. And after my study, I got a few of the findings. The study found that the Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video is the most popular one, followed by Netflix and then other. And an average Indian youth spends approximately 30 minutes per day, minimum of 30 minutes per day watching online videos of the video content, which is far more than the global trends, which have the 6 hours and 45 minutes in a week. Comparatively, in India, watching of the online content is more. And the relationship between watching violent web series and an increase in aggression and violent behavior in youth, which is really a bad thing. And increase in number of insomnia, depression, and obesity and eye disorder cases among the youth are also increasing. And the alcohol, smoking, tobacco, drugs, and weed are advertised directly on online web series without any censorship, which rarely mention their adverse effect on youth. And it also affects on the academic performance of the youth. And coming to the conclusion part, youths are more attracted towards the web series irrespective of any language. The content, quality, character, new actors, and the personalized view at their hands made youth more comfortable. And COVID-19 hit and lockdown measures encompassed the growth of web streaming platforms in India and worldwide. And my study clearly indicates Prime is the most popular streaming platform in Bangalore. And watching of continuous web series and fuel and fire, which makes youth stress and feel insecure to discuss anything with household. Of course, we have observed this thing. And the web series are taking rights because people can select and watch series based on their interest when they had enough free time. So this is about my presentation. Now I request anyone they have any query related to this study, please go ahead. Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. Rakesh.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Rakesha. Do we have any questions from the participants?
Participants, any questions?
Okay. My question or clarification that I require is, you find that these web series have violence and adult content and so many other things. What about the censorship of regulations? What do you think about censorship or regulations that are put in place at present? Or would you recommend strict censorship? Or do you think it's going to be hindering creativity? What will you suggest? Do we need censorship? Or do you think it's going to hinder creativity?
Yeah, thank you for that question, ma'am. Actually, before the year of 2019, government of India does not have any regulations or the restrictions on OTT. After 2019, India Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has made the regulations, separate regulations for OTT to make a cut or make a censor of the movies or the web series which is going to telecast, which have the more violent scenes or the crime situations like that. It have the separate body. Now they have come up with the what we call regulations like the CBFC, how they are creating certificates for the movies. Like that, they have made a separate regulation for the OTT platforms also. Now we can observe that the web series which are presenting are getting the lesser violent scenes and the obscenity when compared to the earlier, like 2019 and the before 2019. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So the regulations are putting in place certain content. I think they're removing certain content that should not be watched. So I think that is a very positive thing, I guess. Okay. Yes. Can we? Thank you for your presentation.
Shall we move to the next presenter? Suganya.
Yes, the next presentation.
Yeah.
Is the title of the paper is Conversation of Political Debates, Forms and Functions of Tamil News Channels by Suganya Gunasekaran. Yes, and Dr. G. Balasubramania Raja.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I will share my PowerPoint presentations. It is visible to everyone, ma'am?
Yes.
It's visible.
My is a conversation of political debates forms in news channels. And myself as an assistant professor in Patel Arts and Science College. In this
Actually,
study,
the voice is a
I
little
going
bit
to
break.
explain about. Okay, so okay. In this study is based upon the conversations about political conversations. It is based upon the politicians and the social representatives, how they are presenting in that political debates and their forms and functions in the Tamil news channels. I took the both channels. One is both channels means according to that TRP on that week TRP rate, so that I choose that both channels and analyzed the 3 days. One is 2nd January at 2020 and 3rd January 2020 and 4th January 2020. I analyzed all those things. In my objectives of this study is to understand the role of political debates in a media communication for social and economic development. The study of the local body elections, it is based upon the local body elections after the result. It is not about a campaign. After that local body election results based upon that at December 2020. Especially the show highlights the representation of the politicians, political parties and the social representatives, how they are presenting, how they are analyzing the views, how they are speaking and how they are argumenting in this paper. I analyzed everything. Then next thing is I took two popular channels. This the most both things. In my introduction, discussion on that particular topic. In a debate, opposing the arguments are put forward to argue like ideas are developed in many ways. In,
Mr. Anas,
in
I think we
now,
have a
in
problem. Mr. Anas?
Yes,
Not
ma'am.
able to
Voice is breaking. I don't know what was the problem.
Okay, sir. So I'm sorry.
Suganya, ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Okay, sir. Now it is a okay, sir.
Yes, it's good.
Okay. In a all debate occurs in a public meetings, academic institutions, and legislative services. But now that electronic medias are developed in many ways, so in a debate, a speaker can speak either for the topic or against the topic. Whereas in group discussions, it is related moreover, it is related upon the public meetings and the political issues. It is basically the prime time debate shows brings the election campaign topics, controversy involving the rival parties and the candidates party manifesto, public opinion, and party representatives, political experts, and the journalists are participated in that political debate shows. It is especially that prime time is a highly watchable. The prime time shows brings about the substantial change in the newscast and the debate shows of Indian television news channels. The debate shows interviews is understood the politician's personality and its own voice of politics. In my review of literature, electronic medias and political debates, how they are saying that it is the respondent who mostly watch debate shows often have more knowledge and develop a strong vision about their political rights. Then it is due to that revolution of electronic media. After that, that political debate, political programs, live news, and breaking news have been easily accessible. And after that, that analyst is demonstrated how they are setting that behavior of the host influence the argumentative behavior of the politicians. Then new media plays an influential and essential in political decision of new media political interest. Every TV channel is producing the debate shows which are influencing their viewers. It can be seen that electronic media is playing a key role in bringing change and structuring the political institution as well as socializing the political on various political aspects. And next thing is it is within the framework of the interview. A contract the television interviews has grown upon the most widely used and conversations. I used the theoretical framework as two theories. One is cognition theories, and another thing is cultivation theories. In this cognitive dissonance theories used in politics, how it is used in that politics. The research in my research, I said that cognitive dissonance theory is a behavioral psychology. It is behavioral psychology about the politicians that asserts that people experience uneasiness after acting in a way that appears to conflict with their beliefs and preference about themselves or others. In today's world, the desire to reconcile cognitive dissonance drives the growing tendency of political candidates to emphasize political qualities such as personality and demeanor while deliberately cultivating the vagueness about their policy positions in an effort to minimize the cognitive dissonance in voters' eye, how they are behaving like that. Cultivation theories of political ideology. I used related to the cultivation theory. Cultivation theory argues that while specific television programs may have the unique social and psychological effects on viewers, all television shows communicate a common message about culture, society, and politics. Cultivation theory research views television as a system of a message and try to understand its functions and consequence on your audience. In my method of study is based upon that quantitative content analysis used in this study. I took that the news channels during the campaign period would primarily focus on differentiate between that normal debate, how it is a normal debate, election topics, election debate durations, panelist anchors duration, like that. How they are in a election campaign time. After that election campaign or during the election campaign, I heard analyzed. I took in this research paper about that after that election results of a local body election. First thing is in my findings is Pudhiya Thalamura. Pudhiya Thalamura, how the political participants are involving. They are political participants are again and again they are coming into the channel and they are proceeding as a political representatives to their political parties. They are repetitive. I used 3 days how they are repetitive in this field, like that. Mostly that peoples are repetitive in again and again in the same channels. Then they are propaganda, like they are publicity about their political parties and their views, how they are saying their messages, information about political knowledge. They are sharing everything to the public. Like Semmelai, Constantine, Sia Saraswati, then Shahul Amit. Some few members are not repeating again and again in same channels, like Tangat Tamil Selvan and Kovi Satya. Instead of that, Pudhiya Thalamura, they are a repetitive audience, but Tandi Television, they are involving different political parties because they are using that TRP rate for that daily, they are using many political participants in that channel. Like even that Satyan, Balabharati, Kalyana Sundaram, Semmalai, Vetri Pandian, Shiva Shankari, Salva Perindagai, then Taniyarasa. They are not repetitive. They are individual for individual days. They are said their own messages. Then political representatives, how they are increasing. According to Pudhiya Thalamura, political representatives are high because that topic is mostly based upon that political topics. So that Pudhiya Thalamura is totally different from every channel. Political topics means the mostly gives concern for that political representatives. But Tandi Television is a less political representatives and they are concentrated more social representatives. I analyzed both channels. Then I analyzed the political parties from that both channels, like DMK, AIADMK, AMK, like a BJP, everything. Because after that election result, every parties are participated in that channel. Because normal debates means there are few political parties, popular X or Y parties only participated in that time. But after that election result or during the campaign times, most of the parties are participated because this is the best way to communicate the people. This is the right time and the right way to speak the public. So this is the right stage. So they are using their stage in this political representatives are using that for this channel. Nowadays, nowadays the people are interested about that political debates. Political knowledge also nowadays they having much more. And then social representatives. I already told that Pudhiya Thalamura is not giving more importance in social representatives, but Tandi Television is giving more importance about that social representatives. Like reporters, mostly after the politicians, Pudhiya Thalamura is giving much representatives to the reporters. Next, that law of panchayat, political critic and ex-mayor, deputy mayors, they are slightly changes from that political representatives. They also sharing their views points about that after that election result of the local body election. In my conclusions, according to this findings, I concluded that fact that TV station and politicians can both benefit from this kind of program. Also shows that the political system not only confirms the demands of the media, but that is uses the media as a platform for symbolic politics. On the surface of the conversation, cooperative behavior is staged by performing in offensive speech acts, such although on this speech acts often implies serious attacks on the integrity of the opponents. As a political awareness of electrodes is known as symbiotic relationship with their political behavior, it was essential to access the political awareness of the viewers of Tamil news channels. In debate, a speaker can speak either for the topic or against the topic, whereas in group discussion, the speaker can express both. It may be for the topic, or sometimes they against that argumentative. Everything they can done. It on spot questions also they can raise us everything. And the final decision or results in a debate depends on voting while in a group discussion. Techniques of everyday conversation are used by politicians, the role they play in that show. This acts or performed as a part of a political role. They are staged for the audience, form this point of view. We can understood this kind of discussion as a conversational game. The extension of a conversational violence is a part of it. And this is my end of my slide. Thank you everyone.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Do we have any questions from the participants?
Participants, any questions?
Yes, that was a good presentation, Sukanya. And my question is, do you think these kind of political debates, because in the US, there are presidential political debates where the president himself will be, addressing policy issues like presidential candidate from the two parties will be addressing the debate. But here it is representatives from the political parties. Do you think it creates some kind of confusion in the people, or do you think it leads people into clarity?
It's a good question, ma'am. Yes, of course, there is a presidential debate that is called as a Lincoln Douglas debate, I think so. They are used only the presidential elections, how they are X and Y parties are argumentating with each other. But in Tamil Nadu, it's completely different. There is a total difference in normal debates and the election debates. In the election time, in Tamil news channels are giving more chance to every audience, every political parties. Because it is the right stages. Nowadays, the electronic media is developed in many ways, like a mass communication and political debates. At the olden times, they were only placed on the stage and they speak about something. But most of the audience can't hear that. They have no clarities about it. Nowadays, in every person's living room is present a TV, and they are knowing about the knowledge of politics and how they are politicians, how about that politics are running in the everyday life. Even a single man has to know about the knowledge, and there is no confusions. There is a clarity. Even one day we have to see means there is a confusion. Day by day we have to see about the political debates and continuously means we have a clarity. But that channels are differing and the channels are giving a separate view. But that view, their political view is a single thing only. So that there is a clarity only. I think so. There is a clarity about that audience.
Yes.
Compared to olden days, nowadays they are understanding how they are running in the everyday life, how the politicians are, how the political parties are. They can understand easily.
Okay, fine. So right now we have this kind of, yes, thank you, Sukanya, for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Actually, ma'am, the next participant informed us that he will not be able to perform his presentation today. So with this, all presenters have presented their PPTs.
Okay, so all the presenters have presented, isn't it? So we
Yes.
can conclude, isn't it? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we had 8 presentations today on the theme media and gender, but yes, 2 or 3 presentations were on a different theme, but yes, definitely all the presentations were good. And I thank the paper presenters for presenting the paper in this international conference. Yes, and I congratulate them as well. I also thank the rapporteur, Mr. Anas Almalla, for coordinating the session very smoothly. Yes, so thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was an honor to have you here with us in this special event. And I thank all the participants and presenters for their time. So shall I end the meeting, ma'am?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your precious time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks to you.
Thank you all.